This is one that makes you chuckle. You have to chuckle at this headline. I told you earlier, I did a double take when I saw this headline when I pulled out my phone. Yes, a Big 12 school reached out to Lincoln Riley. Yes, Lincoln Riley has been involved, linked to a Big 12 head coach opening. And yes, it does actually make a little more sense than it seems to on the surface. At least a little bit. I'm not going to tell you this is something I would ever expect to happen, but it makes a little more sense than you would think on the surface. Okay, hang with me. Look, things are not working out really well for Lincoln Riley in LA with USC. Couple of underwhelming seasons this year, big time. Lincoln Riley, 6-6. And remember in LA, we had a situation that, you had this like overpriced big name head coach where things weren't really working out. And you're thinking like, all right, can they afford to fire him? Like, what's going to happen here? And then he just took care of it for everybody. He up and left. That of course, was Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly at UCLA wanted out. It wasn't working. UCLA is not wanting to pay a buyout, I'm sure. Like, what are we going to do? He leaves to take the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State. Now, this is not Lincoln Riley leaving to take an offensive coordinator job, but a job that a lot of people would certainly view as a step down, but still as a head coach. But it works out for everyone. Remember Dana Holgorsen. Dana Holgorsen was at West Virginia. Things appeared to be definitely headed in the wrong direction. Fan sentiment, not very high when it came to Holgorsen and the faith there in him. So he takes the Houston job, right? We've seen these types of moves happen before. And then how about this one? What happened with Gus Malzahn and UCF just recently? We talked about this on the last live show. You're sitting there with an 8-figure buyout if you're UCF. Gus Malzahn just ain't it. I mean, and I'm somebody that was very high on UCF heading into the year. Not happening. Not happening for Malzahn and UCF. Gus definitely wants a fresh start. Fans want a fresh start, but you've got this nasty buyout sitting there right before we're going into revenue sharing, by the way, in college athletics, which is a real pain for everybody. That is a real pain for everybody. So Gus decides, hey, I'll just take the Florida State offensive coordinator job. That's open. This is a former protege of mine, Mike Norvell. I'll go take that job. UCF saves a ton of money on the buyout. Maybe they're still going to pay some of that. I haven't seen the full details on that. But it definitely helps them out a ton, and then everybody gets a fresh start. Everybody wins. That's the blueprint here. And that's why I know you'll look at that headline like, what? Lincoln Riley was linked to a Big 12 head coaching search? And you'll be like, how? Like, what are we even doing with it? Why are credible reporters? Because like Bruce Feldman's name is on this thing. He's from The Athletic. That is a big-time national reporter. Why are people putting their name on that? That's the logic behind it. Like USC, according to Bruce Feldman, the buyout, USC doesn't have to release it publicly. But according to sources, the buyout for Lincoln Riley would be $90 million. That is the estimated cost to get rid of Lincoln Riley. Would be $90 million. It was 76. It was, 76 for Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. 90 mil. Okay, Lincoln Riley is 14-11 the last 2 years. He is 6-6 this year. It's moving in the wrong direction. It has gone staunchly in the wrong direction every single year since he started at USC. You also have an athletic director there now who didn't hire him. So it's not even the same guy that hired Lincoln Riley and believed in him in the first place. And even at USC, I just laid out this blueprint of coaches leaving when things are getting untenable, but there's a big, nasty buyout. School doesn't want to deal with it. I mean, I guess I don't know specifically what Andy Enfield's buyout was, but at USC, their men's basketball coach, certainly in a stale situation, he leaves to take the SMU job, get a fresh start, restart that clock. We've seen this happen before. Of course, the school that I'm talking about, if you have not figured it out by now, is UCF. So here is the story from The Athletic. UCF has inquired about the availability of USC coach Lincoln Riley as it searches for a replacement for Gus Malzahn. That is according to 3 sources. So Bruce Feldman cites 3 people who've been privy to the conversations. Story goes on to say there has been no indication Riley is interested in making the move. He is 3 seasons into a reported 10-year contract that pays him about $10 million per year. Riley's contract is not publicly available because USC is a private school, but extracting him from Southern California, if he wanted to leave, would likely cost tens of millions of dollars for either the Trojans or the school looking to hire him away. Representatives from UCF reached out to Riley's reps last weekend to inquire about his interest in making a move across the country. Any discussions about adjusting the terms of Riley's contract would be between him and USC, sources said. So, yeah, negotiating some of that buyout, how that would go. The first source added UCF has not received any word from Riley's camp that he's interested in leaving USC. And the school is still looking at multiple candidates to fill its head coaching vacancy. It says firing Riley would cost USC about $90 million, according to one of the sources. If he leaves, he doesn't have to pay anything. But if they were to fire him, you're on the hook for $90 million. Now, USC, they've got some donors, but that's also not been a place that's been like the best of financial situations. 2 sources said even if Riley had an interest in making the move, it would require some payout of his current deal with USC to make up for what he would be giving up in the transition, i.e. like a professional sports trade where one team pays a chunk of a player's remaining salary on a large contract and the receiving team picks up the rest. So UCF would theoretically have to pay some of that. There was also talk in the article about, hey, Gus Malzahn was making $4 million. It just said Lincoln Riley was making 10. So, could they afford the actual contract there? The point to me is, kudos to, look, Terry Mohajir is that's a guy who I will just say, I'm not surprised to hear that he is this gutsy. That is a guy, he's impressive and he is going to be aggressive. I am in zero way surprised that UCF would be that level of aggressive. It's a great thought. Hey, look around the country. Who is in a bad situation that could be a way for us to get a coach of a higher caliber than perhaps we otherwise could? Now, I have to come back and say, I've been telling West Virginia fans all week, I think pursuit of Jimbo Fisher, I hate it. I would hate that for West Virginia. I think he's washed. It's been over a decade since he won a national championship. A&M just paid him $76 million to go away to get his mediocrity out of College Station. You're just going for a sexy name. What you need is a good ball coach. You don't need a sexy name. There is an element of that at play here with UCF too. And I know, like, Lincoln's, he's not taking that job. There's an element of that at play here too, but I can appreciate turning over every rock that you can find and evaluating this at least as a potential job, a potential coach rather, that could be somebody of a higher caliber than you would normally get into the job. Now, Lincoln Riley was asked about it. This is what he said. The tweet says, Lincoln Riley was asked about being linked to some other teams following a report from The Athletic that UCF called to inquire about him. Riley called it, quote, a non-starter and, quote, a non-issue. Quote, I'm at the place I want to be. Problem with that is, can anybody trust Lincoln Riley after what happened at the end of the Oklahoma tenure, right? That press conference, I'm not going to be the head coach at LSU. And everybody thinks, oh, he shut down the coaching rumor. And then within 48 hours, he is in LA. So people, inherently are not going to trust him without fail on that. But, he gave somewhat of a denial. I shouldn't say somewhat. He gave a denial.